Before you start Lesson 11, make sure you have completed Test C in the Test Masters on improper fractions and mixed numbers, and also make sure you've completed Investigation 1 before you start this lesson. Lesson 11 is about some and some more, and then some went away word problems. Now basically these problems are an application of Lesson 3 where you did the missing number problems. In a word problem, what you have to do is figure out what you're going to do, what kind of operation you might be doing, what kind of formulas you might need to solve that word problem. You have to look for key words in the problem. So any word problems that you do in this book or any other math books, when you're solving those problems or when you're reading through it, you should be looking for key words that will help give away the operations or the formulas that you need to use in order to solve that problem. In this lesson, we'll be looking at two types of word problems. One of them is an addition problem. That's the sum and some more. And you should just be able to recognize sum and some more. That means you're adding things together. And then a sum went away word problem. That's subtraction. Let's just go ahead and do some problems. The first thing you should do anytime you do a word problem is to read it through first. And this one says, Ellie stood on the scales and observed that she weighed 95 pounds. Then Ellie and her cat stood on the scales. Together, they weighed 108 pounds. How much did the cat weigh? So look for key words in this problem. Like together, that's a key word in this problem. Together, they weighed 108 pounds. There's only two kinds of problems we're working with right now, addition and subtraction problems. What does the word together make you think of? Does it make you think of subtraction or addition? Well, for me, that makes me think about addition. So let's add the 95 pounds and the cat equals 108. So let's go ahead and do that. Just say 95 plus, we don't know what the cat's weight is. We're trying to find that out. So let's just use a letter to represent the cat's weight equals 108. When you add those two things together, they weigh 108 pounds. Now think about that missing value that you have to find. You have to find a missing addend. And remember from lesson 3, you learned about subtraction undoes addition. So we could figure out how many cats or how much the cat weighed by just doing subtraction of 108 minus 95, and we'd end up with 13. So that's how much the cat weighs. You can check your work on that if you want to. Add 95 and 113, that does equal 108. So the cat, we could put our units down too. LBS is an abbreviation for pounds. The cat weighed 13 pounds. And think about it too, on a word problem, you just have a little bit more to work with other than just a formula that you have to solve for, because you have to make the formula yourself. Based on what the words were, we had to create that 95 plus C equals 108. Now, did we answer the question correctly? Yes, we did. The question was, how much did the cat weigh? The cat weighed 13 pounds. So we've answered the question correctly, and we've checked our work to see that we did the problem right. So on word problems, read them through once. Look for key words in the problem to help you decide what to do. Solve it, check your work, and make sure you're answering the question correctly. Look at practice problem B. John picked some apples. Matt picked 153. Together they picked 408. How many apples did John pick? So think about the question here. How many apples did John pick? That's what we're trying to figure out. So that means that's our unknown value. In these problems, there's always going to be some unknown that you're trying to figure out. And look again for key words. Together, there's a key word again in that problem. We know that together, in order to get two things together or a total, we have to add. So we know how many apples Matt picked. We don't know how many John picked. That's the question. So we say J plus 153 for Matt's apples, and together, or the total, is 408 apples. To solve for how many John picked and to answer our question, we remember that subtraction undoes addition, and we'll have 408 minus 153. Just do the math on that. 255. That's how many John picked. So J is equal to 255. We can write apples as well. And so there's our answer. We make sure we're answering the question correctly. We want to know how many apples John picked. That's what we have there, 255 apples. 255 plus 153 would equal 408. And so we've done that problem correctly. Most of the word problems that you'll be doing, you have to set up some kind of a formula that will help you solve the problem. You just look at the words, find the keywords, and decide what to do. What's the value that you're trying to find? What's the missing number that you're trying to figure out? Look at practice problem C. Always, first thing you should do is read it through. On Monday, 307 flowers were blooming in the garden. By Wednesday, 65 had wilted. How many flowers were still blooming? Well, let's look for some key words here. Or one thing we can do is just look at the question we're trying to answer. How many flowers were still blooming? If some were still blooming, that means that some must have gone away, right? So this must be a subtraction kind of problem. Some went away. And it doesn't say the words some went away in here, but had wilted, if something wilts, it goes away, right? That's one way to think about it. So that helps us think about subtraction. So let's try to think of an equation that we can write here. And we would say 307, that's how many we started with. 65 had wilted by Wednesday, so those went away. How many were still left? And we'll just say equals B for blooming. And those letters that you use, sometimes you want to use descriptive letters or descriptive variables. Those letters are also called variables. Instead of just like an A or B or C or just whatever, use it to describe what you're doing. B stands for blooming in this case. This problem, all we have to do is some subtraction. 307 minus 65. And we see that there are 242 flowers still blooming. And so that's our answer. 242. Let's do one more problem. Let's just read it through first. That's always what you should do on any word problem. Read it first. Nathan had a truckload of melons. After selling 35 of them, he still had 218. How many melons did Nathan start with? Think about some key words here, like selling. If you sell something, they go away, right? And you still have some left. So we're doing a subtraction problem here. Think about the question that they're asking. How many melons did Nathan start with? So if we're doing subtraction, we start with the big number. The biggest number would be the one that he started with. And we'll just say S for start. Sold 35 of them, so 35 went away. And after that, there were still 218. So there's our formula. S minus 35 equals 218. Now remember what to do on a problem like this. When you're trying to find the bigger number, you add the other two together. You add 218 and 35. So 8 and 5 is 3. Carry 1. 3 plus 1 would be 5. 253 is the number of melons to start with, 253. Just think about that. Does that answer make sense? How many did he start with? Well, yes, that's the biggest number that we have there, so yes, that does make sense that he started with 253. Okay, so on word problems, remember you should read them through first and then go back and look for keywords that helps you decide what kind of a formula to set up to help you solve the problem. Look at the question that's being asked and just set your whole problem up based on answering that question. How many flowers were still blooming? How many melons did Nathan start with? Just whatever it is, make sure that you're going to be answering that question with the formula that you set up. And for right now, you can pretty much know that all these problems that you're going to be doing, all these word problems, they'll either be an addition problem or a subtraction problem that you have to set up. Let's do a couple more problems. In problem E, what I want you to do is write a story problem about combining that fits that equation there, $12 plus G equals 18 or 1613. So you could think of this as a sum and some more problem. You had some money, $12, and added some more, which is the G equals 1613. So what you need to do is just kind of look at your previous practice problems, see how those are set up, and then think about how you could write a problem based on the information you've been given here. In order to understand these types of problems better, it's good to go from having the problem back to the story instead of having the story and going to an equation or problem based on that. So go ahead and pause the CD and try to write a story problem about some and some more, or about combining that fits that equation there. Here's one possible solution to this problem. Now there's a variety of solutions to this problem. You have to set it up so that you could solve that story problem that you create by using that equation there, 12 plus G equals 1613. So what I put was Tom bought $12 of food, then he bought some gas. If Tom spent a total of 1613, how much did he spend on gas? So that's all you have to do on these problems, is make a story problem that fits the equation that you've been given. Let's do one more. It says write a story problem about separating that fits this equation, 42 minus K equals 16. So a problem about separating, that would be like a sum went away type of problem. Go ahead and pause the CD and write a story problem that fits that equation there. Well, again, like practice problem E, there's a multitude of answers that would work, a multitude of different story problems that would work. Here's the one that I wrote. There were 42 kangaroos in the field at sunrise. By noon, only 16 remained. How many kangaroos left the field? So don't expect your answers on these to be exactly like the answer in the book, as long as the format is the same, as long as your story problem could make, or you could make that equation that has been given with your story problem, then it's correct. Okay, well that's all for lesson 11.